What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another weekly Scale Riders Podcast episode. This is episode number 169. I am your host, 65 Locs, covering model car culture from around the world. There's no guest on this episode. This is a solo one, just me and you. Everybody tuned in. Don't worry. It's like getting into a car, doing some long distance driving, and all you have is an AM station. No music, just talk. That's all we got. But it's all good because I got you guys covered. I'm going to be diving into RC stuff, diecast stuff, 124 scale stuff, what I've been up to, and building, all this stuff. So let's just go right ahead and dive right into it. I hope you guys are doing good. I hope you guys are well. Staying busy for sure. You got to keep the mind busy, Building definitely is a must. But even though if you cannot build, at least you could admire and cheer and root for your homies, everybody out there in the community that's building, killing it right now, just doing a bunch of stuff, pushing that envelope, moving everything forward. So this last weekend, as you guys know it, we had the NNL West that just happened. 2022 went down in the month of June. If you listen to the previous episode, we had the guest Roy that was on. Thank you, an OG right there. A member of NNL West. He talked about his history and everything. If you have not listened to that episode, please go back and listen to episode number 168. It was fun talking to him, and I do hope that I get to meet him at a future one. So next year, I know they're going to most likely go back to the regular schedule in January. I'm going to do everything what I can to plan ahead to make sure that I will be there, and I'll most likely be vending. I would also like to participate with the model builds, bring them out, display them and stuff like that. But if anything, I might even just display them on my table, to pretty much promote the tools that were used, the paints, splash paints. Shout out to splash paints. Everything that goes into this build, keeping it in-house, as some people would say, and we're gonna dive into a build that I've been working on, but the NNL West was last week. I was not able to go, but I was excited, and I also was like a little torn because I was like, I wish I could have been there. I talked to a lot of my friends in the model car community. Not all of them were there. Like, from what I know, it's like half were, half weren't. Some of them live far in other states that couldn't make it. And I mean, a lot has to do obviously with the change. And I mean, it's not their fault in NNL West. They have to take the date that's available. And sometimes, you don't have enough time to plan. And other friends in Southern California were able to make it out there, and especially the ones in Northern. The good thing is they blessed us with some photos. So we did get to see photographs of builds, some cars that I have not seen yet that I'm quite excited about because, I mean, it's the middle of the year, and I know those cars are not going to be retired this year. So next year, for sure, they will be on display again. So I'm looking forward to that. But it was exciting. I mean, you got to see a variation of cars, which is something that the NNL West brings to the table. It's a very chill, laid-back environment, but at the same time, you get to see all the model builders that are showcasing their skills, what they're into, their favorite colors. You get to see all these things, and at the same time, there's these opportunities where you get to meet them, talk to them. I know it's not the case all the time, but the opportunity's there. And I know for sure there's some people that have not seen each other in a while that most likely, hit it off, chopped it up, and probably introduce other people. That's just how it goes, Sometimes we don't get to meet until after, after we start seeing those photos. It always happens where it's go, oh man, I was there too, But now and hopefully the next one, we connect, we lock it down, it's just, the relationship just gets more deeper, like we're, more cooler as you go. And then next thing you know, it's like you feel very comfortable and happy to attend because now it's like, everybody who's there, in the building. So that's awesome that went down. There was another show that had gone down as well out in San Diego area, Carlsbad. I was not there at that show. I just like barely found out about it, and I think when I found out about it, it was already going down. So, I mean, I know, you know, uh, you can find out about a lot of these shows on Facebook. I'm not really too much on Facebook per se. Like, I'm not really like posting and going crazy. I do have my Instagram account connected to Facebook. So if I ever post on Instagram, it shoots all that information directly into Facebook. But I'm not like logged in, from my computer planning posts or whatever. Like, I don't, I did make a group, like a year ago, and even that, I mean, it's active, but I'm not really on there as much, because mostly everybody is on Instagram that I communicate with, and it just seems a lot more easier to open up the app. I feel like every time I open up Facebook, it's like I have to jump through hoops to get to the content, to get to what I want to see, you know. And there's just too much stuff. It's all over the place. And with Instagram, now it's a little bit more shaped, with who you're following, the suggestions, and your friends will DM you like, hey, check this post out, or check out this video, check out this reel. So you're more connected, more in tune to what's going down in the daily basis, or even like every like minute. It's kind of a trip. But yeah, these shows, they go down, and I mean, it sucks that they don't really get promoted everywhere, you know? And it's like a lot of the times people will say, well, I mean, if I didn't hear about it, or whatever, like, I guess the show didn't go down. I don't know. I don't know about it, and only a few people know, and some people do. And, sometimes promoters might be like, man, like, what do we do to get more people involved, or what? Or the hobby, they think that the hobby's dying because of that. And it's like, it's just, I feel like the promotion just wasn't, it just wasn't executed right, you know? And you have to kind of just be all over the place, like promoting, but you also have to connect with the people too, though. I feel like you have to, if you have an organization and if you're throwing shows, you have to somewhat connect with the people that are attending your shows, even if it's not like in person, but connect with them on social media, have a page for it on Instagram. It's so easy. Just do it that way, or Twitter, whatever. If you want to go Facebook, cool, go Facebook. But connect with the peeps though, like for sure. And it's not hard to spread the word, but you also need to connect, with companies and different things. And I'm not talking about the big companies that are like, making model kits or tools, nothing like that. It's more like groups, or even people that do the build offs, stuff like that. Like, to me, those are very legitimate groups that are established through the years, and they got a lot of people involved in there as well. So definitely don't slack off on the promoting side of things. Spread the word, because especially if you want to make a lot more noise, or you want people to come out. I mean, people are hungry. People want to go out. People want to definitely, showcase their stuff. People want to compete. People want to travel, and especially when it comes to a model car show, it's super relaxing. There's not that many shows that are going down like every week. I wish there was. That'd be awesome, like a nice little getaway, a little escape. But we don't really get that too much. So we have to kind of, plan ahead and see what's up, because it's hard to just wake up and be like, oh yeah, I just found out today's a show. I'm gonna go. I mean, for some people that works if you're like single, but when you got a family, you got a lady, you got kids, or you got pets, who's gonna take care of your dog? Who's gonna feed them all day when you're gone? You gotta like plan all this out. You gotta make sure you got everything covered, so this way when you're at the show, you feel comfortable. You feel like, all right, like I deserve to be here because I did all my chores, I did everything, I handled, I paid the rent. Everything's cool. We're good. There's groceries in the fridge. We got gas in the car. We're good. Let's do it. You know, but other than that, we just need that more time. So now, this year has flown by quick. We're already going to be in July, like, soon. It's coming up. This whole year is going to go by quick. But at the same time, we just have to take advantage of like every day that we get, and we got to enjoy every day, you know? We just got to be like happy that, damn, like I'm waking up and I can move. I could, like, my body's not hurting, you know, like I'm good, you know? If you're feeling like that, like for sure, you know, make the best of it, you know, enjoy things with your family, enjoy things, you know, with your significant other, you know, anything, dude, even if it's just like your pets, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, enjoy everything that you got going on. And, you know, when you have that time to work on your model, it's like if you carry that energy with you, that like really like, but I'm not saying like where you have to be super happy, like it's kind of freaky, like kind of scary. Because sometimes there's some people that are a little too happy, and that could be a little too scary, right? You got to be in the middle. You got to be like in the middle. You got to be like a C average. Let's say like if it came down to grades, right? I don't want to be an A student, but you also don't want to be an F or D student. Keep it at a C. If you keep it at a C, low profile right there. So keep it right there. And you know, you start working on your stuff, and you have that positive mindset and everything. It's like, for sure, we already have to know in our heads right now that the minute we open up a model car kit and we're gonna work on it, we know we're gonna run into problems. We know for sure it's gonna happen. So we, at this point, you know, unless if you're new, you know, it's your first model, you're in for a big surprise. But let's just say you've been doing this for years. You got 10 years under your belt, 5, 20, 30, don't matter. You're gonna run into problems. And sometimes too, I mean, you know, we like to, you know, talk about that kid like, oh, I don't like that kid. That kid's terrible. Or, oh, I don't like this brand because they always do this or that or whatever, right? But what if, I mean, think about this. What if the dude designing it, right? The dude designing the kid, laying out the tree, they did all the fittings and everything fits great, right? Where it gets approved, you know, the CEOs, everybody, the executives, you know, everybody's like super psyched. Yeah, approve, green light. Let's put this into production. And what if the dude designing it is like, oh, I'm gonna go back into the files and I'm gonna like move this a few centimeters to the left and this one up to the right, kind of just switching everything up, right? Without no one knowing. Just to be like, you know what, we're gonna test the model builders. We're gonna test the fans right here, see if anybody catches this. And then next thing you know, you're putting everything and you're noticing like things are off. You're like, what the heck? All that's gonna do is like obviously produce a problem. For some people, it's gonna be a headache, but for others, they're gonna be like, all right, based on the skills that I've learned through the years, I think I know what I need to do to execute this, to fix this. And you end up doing it and you feel good, you know? You never know, man. It could be like a challenge. And you also got to think like, look how video games were back in the day, right? When you start thinking about video games in the 80s, into the 90s, especially like Nintendo, like NES, you couldn't save. You start playing the game and it's like you're all in, you know? And I remember some games I wouldn't even make it past level 3. And I kept trying and trying, and it would get frustrating, but I would never, never make it past like level 3. So I never knew like what was on level 4, 5, 6, or where it even took you. You know, I didn't know what was going on. But what's so funny is now that we have YouTube, you know, you could go on there and look up, you know, somebody playing the game at a fast rate of speed and they pass the game within like 30 minutes or so, and you get to see the ending. You get to see like the last boss. It's so funny. But you know, going back to the model cars, it's like there's gonna be issues all the time, you know? And let's just say that you do get a model out of the box and you build it and you have no problems. Like everything fit, you know, when you did the pre-fit, everything fit nice. You primered it, everything fit nice. You painted it, it fit nice. You cleared it, fit nice. It's like a glove. Like you're like, oh my God, this is perfect, cool. But then it goes by fast, or you get bored and you're like, man, I should have like took my time, or later you come across another photo of the same car and it's custom, or it has a wide body, or it has lowrider wheels that you're like, oh man, it has all these like specific things now. Next thing you know, you're either buying the model again or you're stripping it, you're doing something. Now you want to like, you know, do your own take or whatever. But I mean, it's going to happen. You're always going to run into something. And the reason why I bring this up is because I'm currently working on a high ace. I might be pronouncing it, wrong, but the the high ace. This is an Aoshima model kit that they produced, and I've always been fond of these models. The first time I saw them, just because seeing the 101 scale car, and it just the face of it reminds me of like I don't know, like a dog, like kind of like a pug or something with a small little snout. It's not too big, and the more and it was just like different and quite bizarre. But then the more I looked at it, the more I got into the car. I was like, yo, this is like a cool little van. Like I really like this van. I wish they would sell these in the US, but they don't. There's other renditions, other versions, but it's not the same. It's not the one I would want. If they would sell those here, I would definitely buy one, and I would make it a scale rider's van, a 101 scale for sure, like a work van. Definitely, I would drive that thing proud to drop off packages at the post or UPS or wherever. If I had to pick up merch, whatever, I would be so happy driving that thing. Man, I would even tell my dad, we need to buy one for the flower shop. We got to deliver flowers in that thing. You know, have a vinyl wrap and all that. Nah, but so this model kit, I started on it. I took it out of the box and I was looking at it, and the first thing I was noticing is like the where the sliding doors are on each side. It was a little indented in, just a little bit, slight, but I feel like it's like that just because it's somewhat just the shape of it. It's very rectangular. It's long, and the styrene is the same thickness all around, but there's really just nothing really holding it in place that will make it be like super firm until you start to insert the inside of the interior and everything, of the model and the chassis, all that stuff. So the kit, I started, just kind of pulling it out and messing with it, and then I ordered a wide body kit by Zoomon model based out of Hong Kong. So I mocked it up. I put the pieces. I was taping them, and it's cool, but with tape, tape gets in the way. So you have to use your imagination of like, all right, this is the way it's gonna look. And I was noticing that from the front fenders for the wide body, one was longer than the other. The other was smaller. The other one was just like longer, but I would say by about like 2 to 3 millimeters. And I was like, all right, I don't, maybe it won't be noticeable, because then, you look at it from one side and then the other, and I don't know, I don't think anybody's going to really notice that. So I just went ahead and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start gluing like everything on here. What am I doing? I'm just like, I spent the whole day, like night doing this mock-up, and I didn't do anything. I was just staring at it. And I wanted to get to work because I had that opportunity, that free time at night. So I just went ahead and I glued everything on. But then, trying to match everything based on how I had it with the tape, I noticed, oh, now that I glued it, I ran into a problem. Nothing is lining up. Nothing's matching. There's gaps. There's an issue right here. And I'm thinking like, man, I didn't line it up right. What's going on? So I took photos of it. And the one person who I know has built this kit here is Cam out in New Zealand. And you guys know him as Kiwi's Cam's Hobbies. And I hit him up and I was like, dude, check it out. I sent him photos, like, check this out. Doesn't look kind of funky, or like, I feel like I messed this up. Just look at the lineup. There's these gaps. And I know you built this. Did you have any issues with your car? And he started sending me photos right away, and he was like, nah, everything fit fine. And, we were talking about possibly something went wrong, maybe with the mold or just the repress of these parts, maybe. Who knows? It could be that, who knows what, it could have been. Or maybe just the parts shrinking, who knows? And he told me, when he got his, it was like the first version when they came out with it. So everything, fit perfect, like fine. He had no issues. So, you know, I was telling him, man, I need to take off these fenders because I already glued them on. I can't just like pull them off. I'm going to end up breaking them. So I use Bob Smith Industries glue, and I use the medium, the thick. This is the one with the purple cap. And then I use the accelerator. So this thing was already like dried, like quick within seconds. But I also know that I have a debond. So this is pretty much, it's the one with the green cap from Bob Smith Industries that you apply to the glue, and you could, take the pieces apart. Or it's also intended so like if you glue your fingers together and you don't want to, like rip your skin or get hurt, you could apply this to your fingers, and it'll loosen it, and then you could get it off, and you could separate your fingers from the glue. So I was like telling him, you know what, I do have it, but it's not here in the room. I have that elsewhere, so I can't even get to it right now until tomorrow. So it was almost like, man, it's gonna be like that's too late. This is gonna be like a lost cause. So the next day I went ahead and I got that green Boss Smith Industries bottle, the debonder, and I started to just pour, insert it. Like I started on one side, pouring it onto the kit, but it also said that it will mar the plastic, right? Like it's gonna like just start messing it up, and it did work. It started to loosen up, especially for the next day. I was quite surprised. It loosened it up. I started popping everything off. I was like, cool. So now what required was sanding. I had to like resand those areas that were glued and everything. And now I told myself, look, I'm going to glue everything back on, but I'm not going to try to like make all the pieces like touch each other to connect. I'm just going to glue the fenders where they really need to go to, because before they were shifted a little bit too much to one side, too much to the other, because I was paying attention to the kit touching each other as opposed to following the lines on the body that line up with the fenders. So I went ahead and I did that now. I got a second chance, set it up. But now the next issue was there was gaps between the body kit. So like, let's just say the rear bumper, the sides of the rear bumper, there was a 3 millimeter or 4 millimeter gap with the side fender of the body kit and so forth, right? So all around, all the separate pieces, they were not touching each other. They were pretty separated. So now the next thing was like, I was like, okay, I know I could fill that up with glue and put accelerator and glue and accelerator till I fill it in and sand, but I just knew that was going to take me down a rabbit hole. And I was like, I got to do something different, And I started looking at my putties. I was like, what putty can I use? I've used the Tamiya putty before, the Mr. Hobby, and I feel like those putties are cool for like to fill in like small little areas. But when you gotta fill in like a big chunk, an area, I almost felt like that stuff's gonna take forever to dry, and it's gonna fall apart at some point. Like I just don't have confidence it's gonna work, you know. And I started to think like, what do I need? And then I remembered, oh, I have an epoxy resin putty from Infinity Model. It's a two piece, that it's almost similar to like Milliput. You got two pieces, you got your hardener, and then you got like the epoxy resin. And I went ahead and I was like, I'm gonna go with this. So I mixed it up. It was very easy to apply, and it says give it 12 hours. After 12 hours, you could cut it, you could sand it, you could drill it. So I was like, cool, we're gonna go with that. I went ahead and I started to clean everything up, and I just really loved the way it looked. It shaped it. It doesn't even. It looks like it's part of the kit. Like it just looks so good once you primer it, right? And I was like, wow, this is awesome. I was so happy. I was telling my friends, yo, this is a good putty right here because it does not smell. You could bust out with it. You mix it up. You could use a little bit of water, to soften it, and it's gonna get hard, and it does. Once it's the 12 hours, it's like rock hard right there. You can shape it to the way you want it, right? So I got all that done, and I would say that was probably like the hardest part. But then I noticed like the side of the body kit, I had sanded too much on one area than the other, and it just was looking funky. That you know, I know I'm noticing it. I don't know if anybody else is gonna notice it, but I know it's bothering me. So I went ahead and I thought to myself, you know what? What's gonna really clean that up? What's gonna make it look super clean, right? So then I remembered I have like this like L-shaped styrene piece. So I went ahead and I applied it to each side, and it was like the size for it, and it fit clean. I was like, yo, this looks so much better from the sides. Now the next issue was the top. The top, there was some areas like where, for example, where I sanded too much. Now there was like a gap, right? I needed to fill that in. So I was like, all right, let me put some putty in there. I started putting putty, but then the putty started acting up. It wasn't drying. I think what happened was is I didn't add too much hardener. And I remember seeing a video where this guy said add a little bit more hardener because you're supposed to add the same amount of 101, but this dude was saying like add a little more hardener just so this way, it does get hard because if you don't put enough, that thing's like never gonna be like strong and like hardy, right? So I put it on and like everything, I thought it dried. I let it alone. Next day, I started going in there to like kind of sand it and hit it with like my hobby knife. Stuff was coming out in clumps. I was like, yo, this isn't even dry. Like it's still past 12 hours and it didn't dry. So I just took it all out. I took it all out, cleaned it up really nice. And then I said, you know what? I'm just gonna go old school right here. Now in this part, I'm just gonna apply glue. So I applied all the CA glue from Bob Smith Industries, accelerator, boom, it's filled up now. Now all I have to do is just sand it and primer it and we're done. Like that's pretty much it's all set. And another thing I felt like I was spending too much time was I don't know for what reason, but the front bumper from the kit, I glued it to the body, and that's all that had to be done, like to be left alone. But then I got into my head where I was like, oh, I'm gonna smoothen this part right here. I'm just gonna smoothen it out. I'm gonna make it look clean. Da 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 da. I spent like 2 or 3 days, like just sanding, putty, glue, whatever, to get it smooth. And I was talking to my friend David, right? And I show David like, hey, check it out. I got it, nice and smooth, and I got it uniform now with primer. And he was like, oh, that looks cool. And then he said, hey, our he's like, maybe you already know. I don't know. And I could tell you maybe he didn't know how to really like how to tell me. He was being nice, like how anybody would tell you. But I'm happy that he did tell me. He said, hey, are you gonna bring out the lines from the door? I'm like, huh? Like he had me thinking. Like I was like, what? So I went back and I looked at hiaces, like photos. I looked at the box art, everything. And then I saw what he was talking about, and I was like, oh shoot, those lines that I filled in, those were actually the lines to the door. So it was almost like if it was welded, like there's no way the doors are gonna open. It's almost like every time everyone's gonna get in, they're gonna have to open the side doors or the back door to get in the car. So I was like, oh man, it looks dumb. Like it just doesn't make any sense, right? And I'm sure a lot of people noticed it, but they just didn't say anything because maybe they had the assumption like, oh, maybe he'll bring them out later. But if he wouldn't have told me, I probably wouldn't have brought him out. It would have been too late. So that produced another problem right there. But it was cool though because I was like, well, for something like that, the solution is obviously going to be to scribe the lines out. And I have the scriber. And I also have the guide tape, and they're just straight lines. So this is gonna be easy. But I'm gonna take my time and be very careful too. I'm not gonna get too excited because you want to do it like in one take. You don't want to like mess up, and then now you're just creating more problems. So I took my time and I said, look, this is all I'm gonna do tonight. Is just scribe this up. I'm done. That's it. Put it away, and I'll work on it another day. And I went ahead and I did it. It's done. All I have to do now is just glue on the side view mirrors, primer those, primer a little bit of the areas, and that's pretty much gonna be it. I mean, it's gonna be ready for paint at this point. Interior, I do have like a photo etch set that the kit came with that I do plan on using for it. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that there. The As far as like the paint, like the color, I've been looking at a lot of different pictures, trying to get an idea of what I should go with. I do like a lot of the chalk gray colors. I like those a lot. So it was like a debate whether chalk and gray or maybe like a blue, like a dark night blue color. Because I had seen this RWB Porsche that had this really nice blue color with some like a gold. It had the banner at the top of the front window in gold, and I was like, "Yo, that looks super dope too." That caught my eye. And I mean, they also do these in like white, black, but I didn't want to go that route. So most likely it might be like a gray color that I'm gonna go with on the van. And but I'm quite excited. This is my first one that I'm super excited about. I know for sure I'll build more. I do want to build like more vans, you know. But that's the one thing, lately that's been keeping me like at an all-time like I guess like a high, let's say, because I feel like I've dialed in my schedule, which I'm happy about, where every day I feel like something's accomplished. Just trying to take advantage of like every day. And it's a trip because you know for my schedule, just like there's work, family, and then later it could either be work again or it could be model building, like later at night. And you know at first it seemed quite of a challenge, but as time, as we're going into the future, a lot of things are changing. you know uh, Daughter's getting older. She's becoming a little bit more independent, more understanding. The communication is starting, to grow more. And at the same time, it's like, I'm enjoying that time with her. I'm enjoying family time with my fiance, like going out and doing stuff. Because it's like it keeps, even though like yeah, I'm thinking about model building and cars and everything 24/7, but at the same time when I'm with them and stuff, it's like a good time to take a break from it. So this way later when I have my free time, it's like you come back to it with a fresh mind. It's like hitting reset. And doing the online store too, it's quite exciting because I feel like now um I feel more better being in that rotation and with my distributors, things that are being released. In the very beginning, I thought, oh man, like I could just order this, and it's always available. But then later I learned, everything kind of comes in phases, everything comes in seasons, where the productions are made with certain items, and they're going to be released on this date, on this year, and that's it. Once they're done, they're done. It might take a while till they go back and reproduce it again. So a lot of the stuff, let's say, that I really wanted in the beginning, I could not get because I had already, that boat sailed. Now it's almost like I'm at the docks now, and I see all the boats lined up before they even take off, and I'm able to like, be able to get a ticket now to get in there. have that access. All those things are pretty cool, but it had to happen like that though, for sure. And now, I'm finding myself having this free time of being able to express myself with the model building back again, and it feels good. And also I want to thank you guys for not stopping to build either, because there's so much content out there and stuff that you guys are producing, creating, and putting it out, that it definitely helps a lot. It helps keep motivated. Definitely things that are very influential that are out there. It's really, really cool. And when I have this opportunity to be able to work on something and share it, it's just a reminder of the community that you're a part of, and it's been fun. It's been a fun ride. All these like, just, it makes you think a lot about the future, of what you want to bring to the table. What is it that you want to do with it, and there's there's a lot of different things going on. We got the plastic world 124 scale, and then we have the diecast world 164 scale, and then we have the RC world now that has, like, I mean, RC stuff's been around forever, but this whole, like, little niche with, well, I shouldn't even say little, this whole niche with lowrider, thanks to Jeffries, has, like, blown up like crazy. And that's the 1/18 scale. It's nuts, how big it is, but at the same time, like, we're lucky that we're able to have that chance to dive into each and any one of those categories or sizes of scale. You could be participating or be a fan of all three of them, and none of them like, will, shun you out or discriminate or whatever. Like, it's all love, uh last Saturday I attended a Hot Wheels show. It's not an official, like, like, thrown by Hot Wheels. It's just everyone who's, like, a collector and a vendor who, gets together. And I've gone to the show before at the park. It's just been a while. I have not gone in a while. So I was super stoked that I had the opportunity to go. I had some free time, and I wanted to visit my friend Hayden, HHW Customs, on Instagram. And he's been on the podcast as well as a guest. And, it was nice to visit him, say what's up. And I was just curious to see what was out there, and I picked up some water slide decals that he's been producing. He's been killing it. I pretty much grabbed, all the anime ones he had. I'm like a sucker for those. I really like those anime water slide decals, for the 164 scale. So I picked up, some of his latest releases on there, and then I just walked around, and I even brought with me some of the Kaido House Mini GT wagons, these new wagons that just came out. They're super dope. And I was like, you know what? I know I could, just buy what I want, get kind of crazy, whatever, because all these dudes are, all these dudes are selling, like, really nice stuff, and cool prices too. It's like $1, $3, $5, $10, and up, right? But then I'm like, I'm gonna see if some people are down to trade, maybe for some of the stuff I have, but it'd be more fair if it's like the same brand, And yeah, there was this dude that I met. We talked for a while, and he was down, because I had the wagons already. He didn't even have them yet, but he wanted some, and he had some Kaido House cars that I didn't have. So I was like, dude, let's just do a trade, and we did an even trade. It was cool. And I'll most likely see him again at the next time, that I get the chance to go over there. But it was fun, it was cool just seeing how active that scene is, just seeing how everybody that's there is, like, customizing, buying like the decals, buying the wheels. Everyone's trying to do their own thing, you know. Everyone's trying to even just collect, like, you know, they're looking for a car, and it's a trip. It's like every time I go there, there's always a car that's like everyone's raving over. You know, it's a hot car, and then the next time they do, it's like that car's done. On to the next, and on to the next. So that world, it's very interesting to follow. You know, it's a trip. I wonder if there's anybody that's like doing statistics for it, that has like a website just dedicated to that. I'm pretty sure that information would be very interesting to someone. And you know, now we have the RC stuff. You know, it's getting crazy. You know, I have a friend. He has a company called RC Hub Connection, and they machine these like small parts that go on the RC cars, the Impalas. And at first I was like, a C Hub, or what are you talking about? You know. Then I got to see it firsthand, and I got to see the whole thing, and pretty much what it is, it's pretty much a piece that connects with the upper and lower A arms, and that piece connects to like the wheel. And I guess from like all the hopping, it's made out of plastic, so from all the hopping, it breaks. It tends to break. It's just a piece that's gonna break. So now, you know, that was a problem. He created a solution with and it's called a C Hub. So he created that solution. He's selling them, and people are using them, and I mean they're loving it, you know. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, you know, like props to you, do your thing for sure. Like you have to bring stuff like that, and then you know other people are selling other stuff, right? Like there's interiors, there's like those little like speakers, all this stuff, all aftermarket stuff's like just blowing up. And I'm like, dude, that's dope. Like everyone has to. That's the thing. Everyone has to push forward, bring awareness. And once people start getting these pieces, you know, they start customizing their cars. It just elevates, you know, everything more and more, the hobby. So it's pretty cool to be seeing all that. And you know, Jerry's is actually going to be coming out to California later this year. He's going to be coming out. There's going to be an event. So the event is going to involve Cadillac Fest. It's going to involve a lowrider model car show, and it's also going to involve an RC car show, where I'm pretty sure they're going to do like hopping competition and also showcasing of model cars. I mean model cars, showcasing of the RCs. But then, you know, obviously the model cars are going to be there as well. Let me go ahead and I'm on my phone right now. I'm going to pull up the flyer. I'm going to give you guys the information. You know, I'll shoot the information on future episodes, but if you want to mark your calendar now, this is going to be taking place Sunday, October 16th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's free admission. The name of the event is California Love. It's the Lowrider Model Car Show, you know, RC Car Show, and also Cadillac Fest. It's going to be, if you have a model car and you want to participate and you just want to bring, you know, let's just say one car or two or three, whatever, it's going to be $5 a car. But if you bring up to 8 cars, it'll be $25 for 8 cars. Another thing, if you need more info, you can call this number 657-505-7380. It's going to be taking place at the Zimmerman Automobile Driving Museum. This is at the 610 Lairport Street in the city of El Segundo, California, 90245. So this is pretty much, you know, LA area, but close to LAX, Los Angeles Airport, not too far from there. And just, you know, walking distance, there's restaurants, there's an In-N-Out, there's different things. So, you know, there's places to eat. I'm pretty sure there'll be vendors selling food, stuff like that. You know, this is going to be an event, you know, one you definitely want to go to, especially if you're curious and wanting to know more about the lowrider RC. I have never attended a lowrider RC event. I would like to, and I have a feeling this is going to be my first one. You know, definitely want to be there, check out the model cars, and I also want to see the RC side of things just to see how things go down. But Jeffries will be there. He just released wheels too. If you guys haven't checked them out, check them out on Instagram at Jeffries. That's Jevries. Make sure you check him out there because he's another person coming out with aftermarket products and stuff for the RC. So it's pretty cool to be seeing that right there. And I wanted to also bring up lately this last month, of May, there was a lot of arrivals that showed up to the online store. A lot of model kits, diecast. It was just like a mix of everything that showed up. That I was like, oh man! Just when I thought that we're good, things are done. Aoshima drop, cool. Hasegawa drop, cool. And then next thing you know, I get hit with like plots, or it's not plots. It's a Nunu hobby, but they do like a collaboration with the plots, and then the final one was like Fujimi. I was like, yo, that's like 4 different brands all in 1 month. So definitely it was like a lot of pressure to be able to get all that product. And when you have, I was talking to Casey about this. I was telling him, look, when you don't have the product, you're stressing about getting it because you want to have it in your store, you want to make it available to your customers, and people are hitting you up for asking, do you have this? And and that's part of the job of like customer service is providing your customers with what they want and need, and that's the thing. Like at first you're kind of stressing, like, man, mm, you want to have the stuff, so then finally you get it. Now the next thing that kicks in is you need to like promote it. You need to bring awareness. You need to let people know that you got it. You have it. It's available. It's here in the US, and it's there. Obviously you're not going to force people to buy it. You can't do that, but as any business is, you just promote. People advertise on TV, radio, internet, whatever. For me, it's Instagram and Pinterest and wherever, whatever channel, Twitter, anything social media. Those are my outlets. And obviously I have a website, so everything's already on the net. And that's another. So, but that's the thing. Like when you're promoting, you're like hoping of selling, right? Because you want to generate these sales, so this way you get rid of the product to make more space to be able to get more product in and kind of keep that cycle going. But then at the same time, while that cycle is going, you also have to set some future goals as to like, okay, I know this rotation is going to keep going on, right? You're going to get product in, you're going to sell it, you're going to get more product in, you're going to sell it, you're going to get more. But obviously there's going to be some stuff that's going to kind of stay behind. Not everybody's going to pick everything up. So you always kind of have to make some room and to tuck some stuff away because it'll sell, but you just don't know when it's going to sell, And the stuff that's hot, I mean, that stuff will be there for a day or two and it's gone. Like next day it's all gone and you have all this room again. But if you don't plan, you're just going to be treading water. You're just going to be like in the middle all the time and it's not going to go anywhere. The hustle is just going to stay the same all the time till you get burned out and that's it. You give up or you're done. And I don't want to do that, obviously, so I'm starting to set some goals for myself. I'm starting to tell myself like, all right, I need to set a budget of how much money I need to set aside before the end of this year. If I reach this goal, then I'll be in a better position to now start looking into a place to move into and start operating from it. I have to think about these things, and I gotta, because I want to make this happen, and I want to do it, in the right, like, timely manner, without rushing it, without pressuring that, like, oh, I gotta have it by next month. No, I know the timing will come, everything will come into place. All it's a puzzle right now, all the pieces are gonna fit, and then we'll see the picture, of the layout and everything. But for now, I can't just start looking at places and negotiating whatever, if I haven't reached my goal yet. So I got to reach my goal. Once I reach that goal, I'm going to move forward, you know, but I have to work hard though, I have to promote what I have. I have to showcase it. I have to use it. I got to do so many things, you know. It's just part of the job. It's part of the grind, and you learn along the way. But once I reach that goal, the goal for sure is to have a headquarters, Scale Riders headquarters, operating from there. But at the same time, I would want to. The reason why I want to call it a headquarters and HQ is because to me an HQ is like a place where you meet, right? If you're a model builder and nobody in your family builds but you, or you have, a big group of friends or whatever, and you're the only one that model builds and has the interest and nobody else does. It's almost like you feel like an outsider, right? And you're not sure if that support is there. You feel like it is, but then the minute you start getting into it, they might be like, hey, go paint outside, or don't do that here. It smells, or I just don't want to hear the sound of sanding, or I don't know, or you're getting dust everywhere, right? And you feel out of place, like man, I can't be doing this here. So it would be kind of cool to have a headquarters where, part of, being in a community is having a spot to hang out at and work on stuff. Being over to like come through, say what's up, work on your builds, talk with people, and then eventually if you run into an issue with the build, you get some help, and then you knock it out right there. It feels good to get out of the house. You're in a different setting, and then you go back like, oh, I'll work on it, next time. And there's a lot of things that go into it. It's almost like for those that play like basketball, you get out of the house and you go play ball at the park. Those that play, baseball, I was gonna say flag football, but just football straight up. Like people could play in the street, pushing you into a car or tackling you on the gravel, and that would hurt. Or just go to the park and play. Skaters. I mean, before people would be skating in front of their pad, and then parents were like, "Hey, get out of here! Hey, está haciendo mucho ruido, vete para allá." Hey, I'm gonna call the police. No, I'm playing. But you know what I mean. Like my mom would be like, "Hey, like está haciendo mucho ruido, like get out of here, fuck." And then I would just scram. But next thing you know, it's like, oh, we're skating in front of the school, or we're skating in the park. And now the group gets bigger. Now you're skating with like a huge squad of people. Eventually, you know, things change. Oh man, we have a skate park. That becomes like your headquarters, your HQ. That's your meeting grounds. That's like a spot where the squads are kicking it, line up, whatever. That's your spot. You got a spot to go to. And I would want something like that too. I know for sure. During closing hours, it's like those are the business hours. Those are the times where things are getting packaged, put together, being shipped out. But once that's done, then the floors have to open, the tables have to be open, for people to come through, work on stuff, and like just kick it, and feel good knowing they could go somewhere and be able to do something where no one's gonna tell them like, yo, you can't do that, or oh, the smell, or whatever, it's too loud, the compressor's too loud, all those things. Definitely. Or even for someone that wants to learn, what if somebody wants to learn how to do something? They could learn there. you know, uh, all these things will come into play in the future because I know for sure they're gonna happen. I'm gonna make them happen. You know, once it's in my head, that's it. Like it's in there, and I just it's all about setting the goal and following the phases. Right? You could say that right now. I'm in the laying down the primer, laying down sanding. Right now the store is not built, it's not ready, it's not painted, it's not nothing like that, everything's internal right now. I'm prepping the pieces. That's what I'm doing. I'm mocking stuff up, but it's not gonna be done. It takes time. Using that as an analogy, because we all build model cars, but it'll happen. It'll definitely happen. And I like talking about these things because I know that once I'm at that point, I want to like listen back to myself and be like, dang, like I just want to trip myself out, I guess, but at the same time, it's another way to just motivate myself to go out and do it. And anybody could do it. It doesn't matter what you're gonna do. You got a new job or you're thriving to be the best at this or whatever it is, it's possible. So, leaving it that right there, the goals are in place. We'll see what's up in the future. You guys that are listening to this podcast, hopefully you guys, will start to see little things, little changes, little updates. I'll let you guys know as we go, but for now, it's fun. I'm enjoying all this stuff right now, building, family, the podcast. It's been fun, man. Like, I like that I have like a set schedule, you know, just I'm loving it right now, like recording. I wish I would have had a guest for this week, but there's just so much stuff that goes on every weekend, or not weekend, every week that I'm like, man, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about this. So I'm gonna see what's up later, man, to do some like bonus episodes, in between the podcast episodes where I interview guests. I'm gonna try to slide some of those in there as well. I gotta do some more commute ones, even if they're short, even if they're like 15 minutes, 20 minutes long, or if it goes up to like an hour. I gotta. There's just so much stuff to talk about, right? So many different topics and things I want to bring up. Yeah, but with that said, I'm going to wrap up this episode. This is episode number 169, 65 Locs, checking out. If you guys have any questions or are looking for anything in particular that don't have in the site, please let me know. Hit me up. Just keep me posted. What is it that you're looking for? What is it that I should have in the store? Because right now we're getting a little bit of everything. Obviously, the model car kits, Cattle House, Mini GT, Tarmac Works, diecast stuff, all that good stuff. So hit me up at Scale Riders on Instagram or at 65Locs_. All right, guys. I hope you guys are good. Please take care and have a good weekend. Peace.